Podcast, officially the official podcast at Denver Pop Culture Con 2020 and beyond. I am Ryan. With me is
James
and
Zach.
Brad's here too, but he's indisposed.
We started the show without him.
We started without him because that's what we do. Every week on Real Nerds Podcast, we go see a new movie and we podcast our experience to the world. Except this week and maybe in a few
next
months.
week.
Yeah. Because it's coronavirus time.
Yeah.
But
that sounds more exciting the way you say it than I think it actually feels. It's coronavirus time.
The stay-at-home thing's kind of tough. But
are you still assigned to yard patrol, or are you back at work?
No, I'm back at work. When Laura's test came back negative, I called my boss. I was like, "Hey, can I come back to work? Because I really don't want to use vacation time for it,
Yeah. Oh, I gotcha.
So I kind of wanted to not do that. So I went back to work, and the first day I went back was awful. So.
Oh.
It's like, you'd think when people stay at home, and I'm putting quotes up, that, they wouldn't do anything stupid, but that's all they do. And
Dude, we're getting a virtual tour of James's home now.
I gotta get some more applesauce for baby.
Nice. Oh, Go-Go's. Those are good. I mean, not that I've ever eaten them.
Oh, dude, no. Hold on. Let's be clear about something. Every time you feed a baby, you eat a little bit of it because you want to find out.
You have to know if what they eat is good. And I do like the little fruit pouch things.
Oh my gosh. Well, and you got those like anything that's made of banana, like it tastes better than bananas. Like it, you know how like Runts taste like bananas did like 50 years ago. For some reason, no, that's a real thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Bananas used to taste different, and then there was a like epidemic among the bananas, and now there's only certain strands of bananas still alive, and now bananas taste different.
Oh, so Bananarama virus. Yeah, gotcha.
Right.
Kellen wants to let you know that he's eating Lucky Charms.
Oh man, I would kill for some Lucky Charms. That sounds good.
And he says they're really good.
And if I went to the store to try to get some Lucky Charms, I might have to kill for them.
Ryan, did he say they're magically delicious?
So,
Brett?
So it's going to be a little different show, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't go to the movie theater. So we're going to talk about movies we've watched. Movies that are coming out on Blu-ray, because you still get those. I did go on a field trip last week to pick up Star Wars.
Oh, really? Did you get the Steelbook? Is that why?
Yeah. It's kind of cool. You drive up and you order online and they just run it out to you.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Yeah. I ended up
drive-in.
Yeah. I ended up getting my copy from the Disney Movie Club. Just because it's easy, you know. I don't know. You guys have all heavily invested in the Steelbook stuff, so you've got like whole collections of some of them. So every now and then I'm like, oh, that one's cool, but I'm not as addicted to it.
Did you get the Knives Out one?
No, I didn't. But that's only because I tried to get that one, but it was just because it sold out way too fast. Like,
gotta pre-order that stuff, man.
I know. See, but that's crazy. That's too much work. That's just a lot.
It's really never been easier.
This episode of Real Nerds is brought to you by Bubbly, peach flavor this week,
and Go-Go Squeeze Apple. We're sponsored by Go-Go Squeeze Apple.
And Zoom for letting us do this teleconference.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should point out that we're not in the same room, even though it sounds like we are.
Yeah, it sounds so incredible.
The magic of great audio quality even though I had the one bad out of everybody, the one bad headset, the one that makes me sound like I'm drowning. I mean, I know I'm sounding like I drown all the time, but this is like especially.
That's just from smoking. This is
true.
That's from using a douche flute.
I cannot wait to have a robot voice. It's gonna rock.
oh God, that got sad.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm actually cutting back a lot more since I have been. I mean, outside of going to work,
Since there's a virus spreading all over the country that's causing respiratory failure, that's probably a good idea.
That's a heavy part of it, but also just like I don't really feel compelled when I'm just sitting around in the house, like listening to my radio shows and going to work. Like, it's just not been on my mind as much.
Yesterday we, whenever there's a medical call, we have to go on scene. However, now when I go on scene, I go, am I going to go inside this home? And when the reason we were at that home was shortness of breath, I stayed on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
I am not going anywhere near this place.
Yeah. Was it because if somebody calls like the 911 or whatever for shortness of breath, the cops end up getting sent as well.
Yeah, because you never know. I mean, it's because they could say, "Oh, I'm hurt," and you go there, and it's because they got beat up or whatever.
Right.
And you might have to perform life-saving measures. But
yeah,
when the dude is coughing and is short of breath, I stayed on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And then the paramedics suited up in hazmat stuff, so it was straight out of Dawn of the Dead.
Outbreak.
Yeah, or Outbreak.
Oh, I was gonna say Hot Fuzz, and then there's like a fun conversation between you and your ex, and then you get transferred to the country, and
that'd be sweet.
It would be awesome. Then you get to be partners with Nick Frost. It'd be badass.
And Kate Blanchett gets to be there, and Ryan loves her.
I do love me some Kate Blanchett. We'll talk about it.
And at the beginning of this whole situation, you get stabbed in the hand by Peter Jackson dressed as Santa Claus. So win for everybody.
Either or. As Father Christmas, I think is the term.
Yeah, Father Christmas. That's true. Yes.
So as we were saying before we started recording, we're kind of just gonna catch up and then talk about what we've been watching and whatever else comes up along the way, and then we might play a game, right, Ryan?
Yeah. I think Brad has. So Brad, is this Blockbuster game? Because we can't see you. Is this a trivia game?
Well, technically, it's a board game, and it's normally you play 2-player teams. But I think I'm just going to take the trivia cards because all the cards are just titles of movies, and then like you have 3 options to either act it, quote it, or one word it. Obviously, you can't see me, so I can't act it. So I figure I would just do the one word or quote it, and then you guys have to decide.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
Perfect.
So, YouTube Gold.
Totally. So we usually do movie news. There's really not movie news either, except it seems like they're going to start letting people back into theaters around July, because they just moved Top Gun to December, which was the last movie in June. So I think it might start slowly trickling back in July. What's supposed to open on 4th of July this year? I don't even remember.
I think Ghostbusters.
Oh, they moved that.
Right. That got pushed again. So
yeah, to next year.
Yeah.
And then it was Morbius the next week it pushed as well.
So Trolls World Tour will be finally making its debut.
No, that's the 10th. That's you can watch that on demand.
They did kind of answer everybody's questions about what Disney's gonna actually do, right? Because everybody was sort of making guesses about whether or not they were gonna release stuff on Disney Plus. And I think that their decision to at least say that they're gonna release Mulan in July and then just basically push every Marvel movie back one, at least for the next few movies. So like Black Widow is taking the Eternals spot, and then Eternals is pushing to next year.
Makes sense. Taking Shang-Chi, and then Shang-Chi is a new date in May, which wasn't anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I think their hope is that they'll be able to catch up next year.
Because Spider-Man comes out in July, which is supposed to film in July, which hopefully by then everything will be somewhat normal.
Yeah.
And but the director of Shang-Chi had to self-quarantine too, so it's probably good that they have a little bit more room to...
And most of the movies that are being delayed is because they just don't have time to do the post-production. I read an interview with the directors of The Rise of Gru, the new Minions movie, and they had to shut down their office in Paris that was doing all the like explosions and things like that. So they wouldn't be able to. Oh, that was coming out on July 3rd. That they couldn't get it done by then. It's impossible. So that's what's happening to a lot of movies. Is really the post production.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get back to normal. I did read that baseball wants to hopefully have their opening day July 3rd.
Oh,
so we'll
that's
see.
Not a bad idea.
We'll see.
Will they have to have a shorter season? I don't understand how sports work.
I think they're either going to do a shorter season or they might do what they call a double header, where they play 2 games a day.
Oh, okay. Oof. So more teams would be playing daily.
Yeah.
But the team, teams themselves. Well, no.
So they still what you do? You play 2 games a day instead of 1.
Yeah, so probably like maybe one morning one and one evening one or whatever.
Yeah. So
Oh,
So usually they have
Right.
one at noon and then they have another one at 6.
right, because you're always playing the same team like 7 times in a
Yeah.
row. So
Yeah.
you'd play a team and then you'd play them again that
Yep, to
afternoon.
catch up.
Ugh.
Isn't that going to like destroy pitchers? Like I know they don't
I
play.
mean, it could. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, but you got multiple pitchers on a team, right? You can like swap them
You
out.
do. I
but
think they're
playing
gonna have
so
to.
often back to back, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have to adjust the rosters or something. I don't know how they're going to do it. And then you still have basketball and hockey that never finished their seasons. So we'll see.
We'll never know who won the Stanley Cup this year. We'll never
Yeah.
know.
Or they can still play. I think what the basketball and hockey are running into logistically is how close it's going to be to the following season. But it's all right.
Doesn't
Hopefully,
affect football,
what matters is everybody gets healthy and we don't have to worry about this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. No, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
Have you
So
guys-
I'm at least excited to know that I'm gonna get to watch Mulan in a theater. You know?
Yes.
Like, because
Yeah.
literally that was Brooks and I were planning sort of our first sort of date night movie night of the year to go see Mulan, and that was like, you know, a week or 2 after the quarantine really started. You know, and so we were like, oh man, like,
Yeah.
really?
Like I said, I think the good news is that movie studios are starting to put dates on things.
Yeah.
Whether it's Mulan is July 24th, I think now, and then The Quiet Place was September. So they're starting to fill stuff in, and hopefully that will.
Candyman also got moved to September as well.
Yeah, like the end of September. So
Yeah, so
Candyman?
Candyman.
Oh.
Brian, you're gonna say it 2 more times, and then he'll pop out. Tony Todd's gonna come out. Of
you have to say it 5 times. So
Wait, no, I said
Well, yeah, but-
Candyman. You said Candyman. I said
Wait,
Candyman.
And then I said
it's okay. So
Candyman.
2 more. So 1 more.
Candyman.
Oh no! Now we've said it. We've said it like
asshole.
17 times now.
Yeah, I
um,
know. Now I'm just berating Tony Todd at this point.
Jerks.
Yeah, I know. Tony Todd did nothing to deserve that.
But one thing that is still normal is there's still Blu-rays coming out.
Yeah.
So we can tell you where you can do a drive-through at Best Buy.
Well, Greta Gerwig's Little Women is coming to Blu-ray and DVD and digital, so you can check that out if you'd like.
I pre-ordered that.
You did. Right on. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Arrow's putting out Beyond the Door. Ryan, have you seen this one?
Nope.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to pick it up, and then we can tell you if you should watch Beyond the Door. Universal's re-releasing a few titles, among them American Pie: The Naked Mile, Reach.
Wait, that's coming out on Blu-ray?
Why?
I have no idea. I think it's probably like their back catalog stuff that they've been doing, like where they'll put out like Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid and Radioland Murders, like so they're like lower end stuff. But it's $20.49 to own American.
Oh my gosh!
The Naked Mile.
I don't think it cost that much on DVD when it came out, because that was like their second or third straight to DVD American Pie movie.
That would be a great Shout Factory thing, is if they put all the American Pie spin-off movies into a big dumb collection.
Well, I think if they started a new imprint called Snore Factory, and then they just put out like old shitty straight to DVD sequels
Called The Shit Show
to
Factory.
to franchises that already had too many sequels. That might not be a bad plan. I worked at Blockbuster when The Naked Mile came out. So I remember the trailers for that thing, and it looks awful.
But it was your biggest seller that month, wasn't it?
No, I think even Blockbuster only got like 6 copies of that movie new. Like, like seriously, no one was coming in. Ugh.
Probably none of them the unrated version, because Blockbuster would edit their stuff and remove all the unrated stuff for the longest.
No. We had unrated movies at the Blockbuster.
You guys made it very difficult to find Zach and Miri make a porno unrated. I will just.
I wasn't there at the time.
Exactly, but also amongst the other back titles you can get, Breach with Chris Cooper, and this is coming from Mill Creek as a back catalog. All the Pretty Horses. Does everybody remember All the Pretty Horses? No, you don't. Nobody remembers All the Pretty Horses, because It just
Cormac
died.
McCarthy.
Kino Lorber has a big month or a big week this week. Bo Guest with Gary Cooper and Ray Milland is coming out. We've got Angel with Marlena Dietrich, which I don't believe is that shouldn't be part of Ryan's Marlena Dietrich collection.
It is not, because
Okay.
it's just a Strassenberg and her.
Yeah, her work with Strasberg. Another Gary Cooper movie called The Lives of a Bengal Lancer, which seems like a fun little adventure film that you can check out. Fred McMurray in Murder, He Says. And the poster is Fred McMurray looking puzzled, where a woman in the background, I'm assuming it's Helen Walker, holding a gun and carrying a cane and looking like a badass in shorts. And then also Carol Lombard and Randolph Scott in a movie called Supernatural from 1933. I have a DVD of this, and I have yet to watch it. But if they're putting it on Blu-ray now, I might just go ahead and upgrade. So,
Carol Lombard is amazing.
Carol Lombard
Randolph Scott lived with Cary Grant for some time.
Yep, and also first time I heard about Randolph Scott was in Blazing Saddles when they just all salute him by putting their hats to their chest. And amongst the other back titles, Wimbledon coming out. Anybody remember Wimbledon with Kirsten Dunst and Paul Bettany?
I do remember the poster very vividly. Yeah. She's like holding the racket to her head.
Yeah, it's kind of like she's just beating her head with the racket, going like, "Why is Paul Bettany looking so weird in this poster?" Like, so she's just like trying to break out the anxiety in herself from having to be in this movie.
It's when Paul Bettany was trying to be like the charming star of romantic
the new Jude
comedies.
Law.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be like a sexy movie, but it was not good.
Had like a bit of a rivalry, but in the end, nobody won in that fight. So I mean, Jude Law, I guess, technically won. I guess the big new release in terms of like 4K is Doolittle. So if y'all like Doolittle, you can check that out. It was not like it's watchable for kids movie. That's just my thing.
I'm surprised they were able to get that one out so fast, because that was just in theaters. Like, did they move it up, or did they?
Oh, they had to have. I mean, that was what, January?
Yeah.
So it's been like
January.
2 months.
That was the first big release, but it died in theaters pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Like every time I was looking for tickets initially for that first week, like it seemed like families were going to it. So
yeah,
because like I didn't see sold out.
I don't know. Being a Robert Downey Jr. completist is going to be really hard with that movie.
And then this is something you might like, Mr. James. Alistair Sims, who is the star of that Christmas Carol adaptation that you're a fan of. There's a collection coming out called Alistair Sims School for Laughter, and you've got 4 classic comedies in this, including The Bells of St. Trinidad, School for Scoundrels, Laughter in Paradise, and Hut and Cry. So yeah, watch Alistair Sims not be Scrooge, I guess.
That might be good, because part of the best thing of his Scrooge is at the end when he's like funny and jolly and all of that. Like, it's one of the best parts of the movie.
What day is it?
Him in a comedy is not a bad idea.
No, he was a classically trained. He knew how to do comedy. Terror Train, which was initially a Shout Factory thing, just got released as a Scorpion releasing title. So then that makes sense, because Shout lost the license on it a while back, and that title's been out of print for a bit.
Yep.
But now I have a chance to get Terror Train. It's a fun movie where David Copperfield's in it for some reason.
Because he gives a magical performance.
Does he need to be there, Ryan? Does he need to be there? I don't think so. But I'm gonna I saved the best for last, guys, because at last we don't have to wait any longer for a physical copy of this. We can get Cats, the non-butthole cut, on Blu-ray only. No 4K of Cats, as far as I can see.
Okay, I will say. So I watched the 1-hour Lindsay Ellis video about Cats this week. If you've never seen any of her stuff on YouTube, she's great. So she spent an hour kind of trying to explain Cats, and as she put it, why Cats? And it makes a little more sense. Like it actually makes me less interested in the movie though, because now I'm just like, oh, okay, I understand the equation for how we got to this nightmare fuel. Um,
It is popular,
yeah.
but
What would it take to make you interested in the movie, James?
It's more that like as she talked about it, when she really pointed out what I think I already thought was the problem, which was Tom Hooper. Like that was kind of like where I was like, oh, okay, I guess I don't need to see it. Like, yes, they made this movie because they thought, well, if you take Les Mis and add cats, it'll totally make lots of money. So
What if they
now,
put the buttholes back in?
okay, yes, I know where you're going. Yeah, absolutely. If they put the buttholes back in, I would totally watch that movie.
oh
Wait,
my god.
what?
I can't hear the audio, but I love these reviews.
Oh, where's that button to do the audio?
Got
it.
Here we go!
Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with the memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun. A new day has begun.
Oh.
Well, guys, we've all seen now Ian McKellen with cat nipples. So yeah.
Thanks,
that-
Good for
XVP
us.
Studios.
That's.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave this meeting now.
Less than
Goodbye,
I was
everybody.
hoping
It's been
for.
real.
Man,
And that's Blu-rays.
podcast over.
Yeah.
Fun.
Uh,
So
I don't want to
let's-
watch cats.
Yeah.
You know what? You've corrected me, Brad. No, if they put buttholes in cats, I won't watch cats.
It's okay. That trailer took care of it.
Yeah. Sheesh.
I'll still watch the non-butthole cut just to see what the fuss is all about.
Does that technically count as us all having seen Taylor Swift's butthole?
just shake it off, James.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yep, that
thanks-
happened
thanks,
just
Brad.
now. I don't even know where to go from.
I don't know.
Brad, why?
Yeah.
That's my
I
question.
decided I wanted to break the first teleconference episode of the show.
We're never
Yeah.
doing this on YouTube again.
Nope.
That's what happens when you add screen share the meeting.
Actually, James says yes. This is your fault because you taught him how to do this.
That's true. That is
He'll
true.
strictly blame you for this only.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty.
So, yeah,
Now I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
share hardcore porno.
Oh, fuck.
All right, I'm out.
let's talk about stuff we watched this week,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the stuff we've been watching.
James, because you're first on my taskbar up here. What did you watch this week?
Cool. So couple different things. Last night we watched Onward, which I hadn't seen yet.
Ooh.
And we got it on the Disney Plus. We also own it on Amazon because my sister-in-law bought it and our Amazon accounts are linked. And I'll probably buy a Blu-ray of it, and I'll probably love it forever because that movie is an incredible Pixar film. That like I knew maybe 15 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna cry at this. And yeah, I mean, I think not only was it so much fun, as somebody who has played a lot of D&D in his life, like when it was over, I turned to my wife. I was like, okay, the only thing that was seriously wrong with that movie is that gelatinous cubes do not immediately disintegrate things; they slowly digest them, kind of like a sarlacc. But still, I think just the story they told, everything with like having these magical creatures who kind of come alive. Early on, I thought it was gonna kind of turn into a metaphor about like people losing their creativity in a world about technology, and then I was like, oh, okay, no, it's just a good father-son story and brother story.
Yeah.
But the brother stuff really like caught me by surprise in the way that they meant it to. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible. Everyone should watch it. It's like worth having a Disney Plus subscription for. I would almost say, I mean, there's been plenty of stuff already, at least as far as I'm concerned, but that was just great.
So I walked to
Um,
his hiding spot, right?
Yeah, no. Onward there's so many like great little moments. Like you have to go back to the beginning to fulfill your quest. I love the moment where I'm sorry, it's been a few weeks, but Tom Holland's character realizes that he's always had a dad.
yeah.
Like that's what really got me. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah. No. Well, and his sort of moment where he turns. Also, the one of the things that I would say that movie does really well is its setups and payoffs feel really natural. And so while it talks about things like him learning to drive, or like at the end when all these things that they've learned along the way, like the spells they've learned along the way all kind of come together. Like I think those setups and payoffs were all really natural and good. And it didn't feel like, oh, this is the part of the movie where we learn XYZ
Yeah.
so that later we can use that, Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, that was really great. I totally recommend that for anybody. One of the other things we were talking about a little bit beforehand that I've been watching a lot of is, so we've been watching the new season of British Baking Show, and it's great. But that's for when you want to watch something good that makes you feel good, that is genuinely the best reality show ever made. Like it makes you want to eat food, it makes you want to help your neighbor. Like it's just a wonderful show. But Netflix also right now put out the first season of something called Love is Blind, which is, so you guys aren't aware, though I told Ryan and Zach a little bit before the show, like I have a guilty pleasure, which is real bottom of the barrel, like VH1 level romance shows, like dating shows.
Is VH1 still a channel?
I have no idea. If it is, I really hope it's just reruns of Flavor of Love and Rock of Love 2. And like all those shows to me are just absolute gold. And if you let me buy Flavor of Love or New York of Love or Rock of Love on like DVD, not Blu-ray, I don't want quality here. If you let me buy those on DVD, I probably would, because they're just awful. And when I lived with like some of my dude friends in college, like we were obsessed with those shows because they were awful. We've all seen them, and I've seen some of those seasons multiple times. So Love is Blind falls into that category of absolute trash TV. And it's something that, like, when Brooks and I saw the trailer for it, the premise is that they're going to take like 10 dudes and 10 ladies and put them in a house. And there's the house is divided into dudes and ladies. And then there's these rooms where a guy can go into a room and a girl goes into the other room, and there's a wall between them, and they can talk to each other and they can date having not seen each other.
Oh, it's Love is Blind.
Right, exactly. And so at this point you're like, okay, a decent idea for a dumb, useless waste of my time, right?
Yeah.
But they also, the premise of they have basically 2 weeks to get engaged, and then their wedding will be 4 weeks after that. So it's not just is love blind. It's not just can people fall in love without seeing each other. It's also, can you fast track this shit? Are you so desperate to be married and pretend like you have your shit together that you will basically just pick anybody based on the sexiness of their voice and run as fast as you can at that altar? And that makes it absolute trash. It is at times appalling. it is difficult to watch because you have people doing and saying things that are idiotic and contradicting themselves. Like it takes these people who are obviously, again, desperate enough they would end up on the show, and think that this was a good idea, and really revealing how much they kind of just want to be on TV, because they'll say something in one place and then contradict themselves, and like, oh, it's just absolutely awful. Um, there's like one couple that's actually kind of boring because they actually kind of work. Like they're like, oh, you guys are actually kind of normal, and like, you're not just super dramatic. And then there are people where literally when they come on the TV, it just hurts to listen to them talk. Um, and that's really what I'm there for, is just that pain. It's kind of like when you like have sprained your ankle, and so you pinch the other leg just to like distract yourself from the pain. It's that kind of thing. Like there's a massive quarantine going on, so I sit in my room and I just cut myself and watch Love Is Blind. Like, so anyway, it's awful and no one should watch it. It's been picked up for 2 more seasons and I'm in hell. And worst case of all, so is my wife. Like my entire family is now involved in a worse apocalypse than Corona. Um,
James,
so yeah.
is love even a thing anymore? Because what you just described proves that it isn't.
Oh, yes. As
Is-
a married, so there's two actual things out of it. Yes, to answer your question, as a married couple watching the show, whenever they tell each other on the show that they love each other, it makes it feel shitty when I tell my wife that. Two, two, the real good thing about watching the show is how good, if you are in a relationship, how good you feel about your relationship.
Okay.
Like you can watch 2 or 3 episodes in a row and look at your significant other and go, man, we're really good at this. We're like so much better at dating than any of these people. Man,
Oh, so it's an empowering show.
absolutely. Like just makes you feel good,
Okay.
while also being extremely painful. Makes you
Okay.
feel sad about humans, and then also makes you feel good about how smart and wise and mature you are.
I just
So
didn't think they'd be able to turn love into the basic expediency of Amazon Prime, where it's just like, well, I'll get my
yeah,
marriage certificate in 2 weeks, or I get a $1.50 digital reward for free.
it's
So,
it's absolutely like a hop, skip, and a jump away from like a mail by order bride. Like, because here's the other thing I left out, right? Like the premise of the show is, is love actually superficial, or can you fall in love without actually seeing the person, right? Well, it's also a TV show, so everyone on the show is beautiful. Like
yeah.
there was no point at which like the doors opened up and somebody was like, oh, it's a troll. Like I didn't know, I wasn't expecting that there was going to be a dragon on the other side of the door. Like no, all of these people, all the people on the show who are ugly on the inside. Like,
Oh,
So
just drop some
yeah.
knowledge.
So it's and empowering. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So not only now, so you will feel bad about yourself for not being so beautiful as all of these dum-dums on the TV.
I don't need a
But
TV show to do that for me.
but also the number of times that like people have said things and either Brooks or I will just be like, that's why you're single. Like this nonsense right here is why you're single, and you're just doing it again. Like, so anyway, yeah, terrible show. No one should watch it. You should all unsubscribe from Netflix because it is so bad. But there will be 2 more seasons. So if you want to get in early, now is the time.
Yeah, but so you mentioned dragons being non-existent. Would you watch a dragon dating show, like actual dragons
Yes.
dating humans? Okay.
But only if it's people dating dragons. Yeah. I want like sexy how to date your dragon. That's what I want. So
Love it.
and then the only other thing, let's see, we've been watching through the Indiana Jones movies again, which that's just been, fun. And I rewatched Iron Man yesterday because I think I'm gonna like go through a lot of the older ones that I haven't seen in a long time and rewatch some of those. Like maybe, I don't know that I'm gonna go through all of the Marvel movies again, but just like I was just surprised how well Iron Man still holds up. Like sure, it's got the MySpace joke, but still, like it's just a great movie that fits in that universe really well now, even though the universe feels very different today. So yeah, I think that was really good. And then it's just a question of whether or not Brad wants to talk about Picard, because I finished Picard last week and talked about it some on when I was alone, but have not actually had a chance to catch up with Brad about it.
I can
Brad?
talk about it.
Yeah, I think I texted you after you finished it and just asked you, like, told you that I'm not sure how much I hate it, and I actually think I answered that question by just not thinking about it very much since then.
Me
So,
neither.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people. I talked to one guy who liked it, but he mostly just likes it as like Star Trek canon more than he likes it as like a well-written show. So
Yeah, it's like it exists, so therefore it's great.
yeah, I'm right.
Yeah,
His
it's
argument for it being good was he's like, yeah, because I like it because I'm watching a lot of Discovery too. I was like, okay, So, I guess that's fair. So yeah, go ahead, Brad.
yeah, it's it definitely feels like a season of just, hey, welcome back to the Picard timeline, and also let's slightly apologize for Star Trek Nemesis,
Yeah,
which I'm like, but at the same time, I just keep thinking about, pretty much every Star Trek series, the first season is not exceptional, so here's
yeah,
to the second season.
right. I guess I was kind of hoping the show was going to be built more like a mini series, and that there might not even be the promise of a second season because it's like,
Yeah.
it's Patrick Stewart, like he's got shit to do.
How much can we talk about it? Because like everything I want to talk about just deals with the finale spoilers.
Yeah, I know, and I know that Zach is gonna watch it, and I don't know that we should necessarily spoil it. So
If
there's
you
not a lot.
guys,
But
if you guys can hold out another week, I will watch it this week.
yeah, maybe we wait a couple weeks and Brad and I find some time where we'll like do a spoiler talk about it. Because I totally agree. Like I think the show is middling to forgettable, and then the last like 20 to 40 minutes of the show is insulting and disappointing, and I I think that's the part that's really rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. So that's pretty much everything that I've been watching. It's worth talking about.
Zach.
I have actually been pretty lacking this past week. I've been holding a Jack Benny radio and film and television quarantine festival in my house. That basically the event operates whenever I am not working. So I've been going through a lot of the television shows that Jack did on, specifically on the Shout Factory release of the Lost episodes, which were episodes of the show that for the most part, people knew existed, but they didn't know if there was a good print out there. But one of the ones that I watched, which was the Dick Van Dyke episode, the Clayton Worthington murder, I was reading more into it. They didn't even know that a print of this still existed, and Dick Van Dyke thought it was lost forever until they found it. And apparently, he was relieved when they found it not too long ago, and were able to put it out on DVD. And that episode's fantastic. It starts with Dick Van Dyke being introduced by Jack, and then he does a song and dance number, and then the whole gag is that Dick Van Dyke has heard a rumor that Jack, because he's so cheap, when he gets an actor at a high price, he works them to death. And in this case, he asks him to be in a murder mystery sketch, and Jack plays a detective, and Dick Van Dyke plays everybody else. So he'll enter the room as one character, go back out, come back in as another character. He ends up playing 6 different characters. And then the gag at the end is that he actually was playing a 7th character, but I won't spoil that because I know Ryan and Brad might get a kick out of watching Dick Van Dyke do that. You may not like the Jack segment, but watching Dick Van Dyke work in that, albeit in an edited form, is pretty fantastic to just watch him keep the consistency of the performance. It's, Dick Van Dyke's a genius for a reason. And other episodes that I ended up watching were primarily ones that had to do with Jack playing the violin and the notoriousness that he was a terrible fiddle player, when in actuality he actually raised millions of dollars for pension funds for local and for state orchestras across the country so that they could continue to thrive. Basically, the impetus for this was classical musicians can't raise enough money because nobody cares about classical music. But if a bad violin player slash comedian were to hold a benefit because of his popularity, he could raise more money than any actual classical musician could. So that's kind of like the curse of, like Jack being not as great at the violin, but yet he was able to basically save a lot of different orchestras across the country as a result. And one of the shows that I watched was the Carnegie Hall special that they did, where they did the special, sold it to CBS, and the $250,000 that they got from that sale went to the contribution to save Carnegie Hall and make it a landmark in 1962. And it's a great special, and you get to watch the Benny Goodman Sextet, the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, and a lot of others just kind of show the classical music form. And then the finale is Jack and Isaac Stern, who was one of the world's foremost violinists, getting up and doing a duet to I believe it's the Mendelssohn Concerto. So it's been a fun little romp, going through those. I've been re-listening to the radio shows. I went through the Ronald Colman Oscar being stolen bit, which is primarily, like Jack wants to borrow Ronald Colman's Oscar because he borrows pretty much everything from Ronald Colman, who lives across the street. So Jack gets robbed as he's walking home, and the Oscar gets stolen, and it starts a 7 to 8 week thread about how he can find a replacement Oscar to give to Ronald Colman until he can find the real one. The ending will surprise you. I won't spoil it because y'all should listen to it. It's all on the radio, on the YouTubes for free. But I guess the only real movie that I watched this week was I rewatched George Washington Slept Here, which I've talked about a bunch on the show, so I won't go back into it. But Ryan, like every time I try to, I talked about this not too long ago, but Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream Home is the better Build Your Country Home movie. Cary Grant's much better at doing what he does.
Being an actor.
What Jack, it's just like Jack is being asked to do primarily slapstick and not like it doesn't work. The movie's fine. It's just that but it's definitely not what it could be. In terms of like, there's an actor in it who plays like the handyman who's helping around the house, named Percy, played by Percy Kilbride, who ended up being Pa Kettle in the Ma and Pa Kettle movies, and he's amazing in the movie. And Ann Sheridan's good in it too, and Charles Coburn plays an uncle who pretends to be rich so that his family will treat him better. It is a fun movie. If you get it on Warner Archive, you can check it out. It's got Hattie McDaniel in it too, and albeit it's a little bit, it's of its time, so always keep that in mind with these films. But she's funny in it too. And yeah, that's been pretty much it. I'm a little lacking, but I found out my sister is giving us access to her Disney Plus, so I may be talking about some Mandalorian next week. I don't know.
Don't say that on the internet. Disney's listening.
Okay, sorry, Brad, bleep me. I don't care.
James is the host. He's got the controls.
That's true, yeah.
Brad, you said you didn't watch anything. Did you watch anything?
Actually, I remembered I watched Tiger King.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We started it too, but we only got like halfway into the first episode.
So again, I can't talk about spoilers, but yeah, that show's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm really disturbed by how people seem to lionize
Heyo.
Joe Exotic.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
There's no character in the show that's like a good person.
They're all terrible.
So it's interesting, just like I've seen a lot of memes just coming down on Carol Baskin.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know. I can kind of see there's a scenario where her deceased husband actually faked his own death because all the women he's cheated on. So, but it doesn't explain how she has his fortune. So I'm just a little deflated that the one guy who did all these things to the cats he owns, and then I guess orchestrated a possible murder.
Yeah.
Now
is kind of being treated like a local hero.
Yeah,
am I crazy? Because it could just be that I've been watching a lot of Love Is Blind. But am I crazy, or 20 minutes in, I just wanted those two people to just make out? Like, it just felt like they were the same person, but their
Well,
arguments for why they keep cats are different. And that they could probably like just get married and be very happy together.
well, the thing
At least
that I took
happier than the people on Love Is Blind, that's for sure.
well, I mean, the thing I took away from it is that they're all under the delusion that they're helping these animals when in fact none of them are.
Yeah.
Nobody that is talked to in that series is doing anything of remote value whatsoever to the ecological system or conservationism. So no, they're all terrible people. I do find it weird that people are lionizing Joe Exotic. The only meme that I've really enjoyed out of all this is the one where somebody turned it into a Disney animated cartoon called Tiger King. But outside of that, like the last 7 minutes of that documentary makes you realize that you have been caught up in the drama of very unimportant things compared to the actual truth of the matter, which is like everybody's terrible. These animals are getting abused. So, but did a good documentary, very good. Always keeps the escalation up. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, it's like there's part of me that is suspicious the whole thing is fake, just because of how much access they have to like the darkest behind the scenes parts of what's going on. So yeah, I guess we'll see. It's weird. It's just they show so much of like behind the scenes stuff that just makes these people look so terrible. It just feels like it has to be set up like that, and it also has like a vibe of. It almost feels like the show, because the show's vibe is so much making the Making a Murderer documentary, but like, what if we could take it further? So
it's like
what if we could get like the most entertaining version of that without all the because it takes place like from 2015 to now, so like all this crazy stuff happened in the last 5 years and I've never heard of it.
Well,
Like,
it's all been localized within Oklahoma. Like
the guy ran for president. Like,
John Oliver
Yes.
talked about
But-
it.
it's just weird that like what's going on in the documentary is so absurd. Like it should have come across my Twitter feed at some point, like in the past 5 years.
Again, John Oliver did talk about him in like a brief thing, but that's the thing. Like it was just that situation. Like nobody really knew what was going on with in terms of the like, unless you were a fan of his for the whole like Carol Baskin stuff. Like it seemed like it was just really localized to Oklahoma, which that happens.
I guess there's all the stuff that goes on. I just don't know how it was kept that silent.
I don't know. Sorry, I've seen about half of it, and I'm not enamored with it like everybody else. I mean, it's okay, and then every once in a while, you go, "This person's real," but at the same time, it's just I'm kind of in Brad's boat, because at one point they spoilers, James, they his like
whatever
reptile farm and studio burns down, but then they still have all this footage, and I'm like, wait, I thought they lost all this footage. So I don't know.
And like, how lucky is this documentary crew that it's 5 years ago went out just to profile this guy, and then all this stuff happens after the fact, so they turn the documentary into this. So there's a version where it was supposed to be just a profile of here's this tiger sanctuary, and that would be the end of it. Like they really went out there just for that.
I mean, the filmmaker does touch on that in the very first episode, because he was talking about private zoos, and but it also seems really lucky that because the first thing he's at a place where a dude's buying some snake, and he has a snow leopard in his van, and he says, "Well, you should see this guy named Joe Exotic," and it's just, I don't know. I'm not enamored with it as like everybody else is. I mean, there's some parts that you can't believe. When he's at the funeral of his husband and he's talking about his balls being golden nuggets, you're like, what in the fuck is going on here? But I don't know. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm impressed with like how, you'll be thinking of, well, like you'll be trying to follow the path of like how things are happening, and like who could be doing what to each other, and then as soon as you kind of think of it, they'll finish a segment and then they'll bring up the thing you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, if that happened, then why doesn't it? This is so hard to talk about. Spoiling like 2/3 of the show. Sorry, but it's just like, yeah. Well, what if this evidence exists? Like, then why not? Oh, okay, here they're bringing it up now. So.
But it does have a very big Making a Murderer vibe. The episodes end almost the same way.
Yeah.
And they also have the interstitials of him phoning in from jail and stuff. So
yeah.
Right. Which, I mean, like, and actually, Brad, I didn't even think about that. There is some footage that relates to the reality producer whose footage was supposedly all burned. The only thing that tells me that at least the majority of that footage is not like it. I guess Joe Exotic was actually like the woman who lost her arm did say that he was filming that zoo every hour of every day, like everything.
Oh yeah, that's the only thing I could even think of is that the filmmaker repurposed everything that he filmed.
Yeah, which would make a lot of sense, and he would probably still have some form of video from when that reality producer was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just from watching the first 20 minutes, like I might just wait till the butthole cut comes out.
Please no.
Because Joe Exotic doesn't wear underwear, so I assume that there's a butthole cut out there somewhere.
Point is that
I feel very happy right
now. Cool. Ryan, what did you watch?
Actually, I watched a lot. My wife is a nurse, and she started developing symptoms that were coronavirus related. So I had to also be sent home from work in case she's test came back negative, so we're fine. But so we did.
We'll get through this, Ryan.
Yeah, we did a kind of a fun
Apparently,
thing.
negative means positive. Referencing The Office.
Yeah, that is an Office joke. I'll talk about a couple things I watched without my family, and then I'll tell you what we did while we are quarantined. Is kind of fun. So I watched the first 4 Resident Evil movies.
Wow.
And they're still pretty fun. The first one, when you go back and watch them in order, and I mean, virtually back to back. I watched 3 in one night. They make a lot more sense because when there's a 2 or 3 year gap between the movies, you forget all these little things. And so the first one is pretty fun. It does suffer a lot from the early mid 2000s where it's like grunge metal set to fights where it's like kill things.
Yeah.
I mean, I know James and Brad don't like the movies at all.
I own all of them, thank you.
I mean, your letterbox, you give them 1 star each. So,
well, hold on. Well, they are bad films, and I love them.
Yeah.
Halfway through what you're talking about, I was like, he already did a binge watch of the Resident Evil movies, and then I remembered that was the Underworld series.
Yeah.
So,
ooh,
that's how interchangeable they are in my head.
I do have all of them too, and they're all on Steelbook, and the last movie of each of them is in Ultra HD. But yeah, I mean, they're fun. Like I still think they're pretty fun movies. Just to sit back and I do every once in a while like putting in a movie and turning off your brain, and that's always fun. I also watched the 2 Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have the ones you gave me, so I still got to check them out.
Yeah, you should. Like the first one's pretty fun. The second one, the director makes a lot of weird stylistic choices. With the zombies, he always shoots them at a high speed, but then he slows it down. So it's really weird. It's like that blurry.
Wait, is that why that looks that way?
Yeah, it's like a music video blurry. It's weird.
I've seen the first one a long time ago when you gave me that set, so I never finished my binge. So
yeah, it's whatever. So the second one is maybe my least favorite of the whole series. The third one's pretty fun. It's kind of like a Mad Max with.
I was gonna say the third one is like maybe the best one.
Because because I'm pretty sure the fourth one opens with her all her clones at the Umbrella Corporation.
because three is where stuff starts to really go off the rails.
Yeah, because
with all the clone stuff.
Yeah, because at the end she says, "We're coming for you," and it's nothing but hundreds of clones of Alice. Whatever.
And I think that's probably where they figured out their whole method for how those movies made more money every time, because they really were like they were like a grunge metal version of a soap opera.
Yeah.
Where like every episode would end, every movie would end on like some kind of ridiculous cliffhanger that then they would just have to undo in the first 5 minutes of the next movie and then tell a completely different weird story that ended in a bizarre way.
Yeah, that's a pretty apt way of describing it because, I'm sure when they made the first one, the cliffhanger at the end was just, if this movie did well. And they all start pretty much the same way where it's Mila Jovovich going, "My name is Alice. I work for Umbrella Corporation." And then they end the same way with like a crane shot pulling away from her.
Right.
And setting up the next movie. And James, you're right. And then the next movie, it'll be like 5 minutes of her solving the issue from the previous movie.
Right.
And then it goes somewhere completely different.
Like the fourth movie starts with basically just all of her clones being murdered so that then we can just start a story about Alice, who we assume maybe is the original one, but who could even know anymore? And then you just have this whole other weird story, and at some point she swims in some foggy water in 3D. Because that's the one you and I saw in theaters together, right? I think 4 is Afterlife. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. See?
So that was fun. I also
sorry, the other thing I was going to say about it is I think part of the reason for that is that by the time they got to the third one, any goodwill from the video games was gone. People probably went to see the second one because they liked the video games so much and wanted to go see and the first one was okay. And then by the time you get into the third and beyond that, it's just about whether or not you're going to go see Mia Jovovich and some dumb. And so that's when the franchise to me really just hits gold. So anyway.
But it's, one thing I do like about Mila Jovovich is she does know what movie she's in, and she fully embraces the absurdity of it. And it's, why not? Who cares?
Yeah.
Your husband's directing them. Here's kicking zombie ass.
He knows what kind of movies he's making.
He doesn't care. He makes movies that make money. I mean, he really does.
Well, except for Three Musketeers.
Yeah. Womp womp. So I officially named my Kate Blanchett series "Kate is Enough" because I couldn't think of anything else, and I'm not really happy about it, Zach. Just kidding. So I rewatched Thor Ragnarok, and I started it at like 11:30. I say I'll just watch a little bit of this and I'll go to bed. Well, 2.5 hours later, I was finally getting ready for bed because that movie's so much fun.
Yep.
I mean, she's really great in it, but even if she wasn't in it, just everything about that movie is really fun, and it's taking the Thor character that previously was kind of serious and his jokes came from him being not from this world.
Fish out of water, yeah.
Letting him flesh out and being a little more silly is great. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok is awesome. The colors of how it was shot, the music, the performances. That's one of my favorite Marvel movies. I also watched, I've never seen it, Elizabeth, which is her first movie where she kind of got accolades for. I think it's from 98 or 99. I can't remember. But in it, she plays the Virgin Queen Elizabeth. So it's a historical drama. I mean, it's really loosey-goosey with the facts. But I'm always a big fan of historical dramas and the politicalness of it. And, the maneuvering to be to get what you want, because back then it was warring clans and all this stuff, and she's amazing in the movie. I can see why she got nominated for Best Actress twice, the only actress who's ever been nominated for the same role twice.
Right. So the first one was 98, and then Elizabeth the Golden Age is 2007, so about 9 years later.
Yes, and it's just a really fascinating. I really love the old school political stuff in movies. And it's pretty violent. and it's really fascinating because this Elizabeth kind of plays sort of like a political version of Braveheart. Not as many war scenes, where it's violent, there's nudity, and the second one is rated PG-13, so they must have toned it down, which is really weird because if I remember history right, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm remembering it right. During her golden years, is she had to stop the Scottish uprising with the Mary Queen of Scots. If I remember right, I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but we'll see. I'll watch that soon. And so, getting back to us being in quarantine or self-isolation, whatever you want to call it, we decided that every night Kellen would roll a die, and if he got a 1, he could pick the movie. If it was a 3, then Laura picked the movie, and if it was a 5, I picked the movie. And so after the first day, then he'd roll the die and tell someone who didn't get to pick a movie won, and then the last movie we picked was the person who didn't get it. So the first night we were talking about it, but Laura had to do schoolwork, so Kellen and I watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Because he wanted to watch an adventure movie with lots of villains, and I go, "Oh, Uncle James talked about this. This is the perfect movie because there's lots of villains in it."
Yeah.
And watching that movie, I haven't seen it maybe this in like 2 years because I try to watch them pretty regularly, but movie's so great.
I also hadn't seen it in a couple of years. Like Brooks and I watched Raiders right after we got married, so sometime last year. No, 2 years ago. But it's probably been maybe 3 or 4 years since I watched Crusade, and this time I was really watching it like trying to imagine if I hadn't seen it for the first time and I were trying to pick it apart and just see how it works the way that I do a normal movie, and I was just amazed at how great that script is. Like
it's
the whole setup of I think my whole life it's gone a little bit over my head how obvious the actual like conclusion of the father-son story of this moment where he's actually presented with a choice between Indiana Jones and the Grail and tells him like, Indiana, and pulls him out of the thing. Like it's actually so obvious, but is executed so well that like even what I said about Onward and how great a job it does at its setups and payoffs, like that's not even a setup and payoff. Like that's just what happened. Like that's just is the way it is. Like it's not no writer was involved. That simply is the way Indiana Jones is. That script is just incredible.
And there's always a fear when I show Kellen these movies because I love them so much.
Oh no.
That it's like, is he gonna like this movie? And just like Raiders, when I showed him Raiders, right away he sucked in because in the Last Crusade, when they show the faux Indiana Jones, Kellen says, "Is that Indiana Jones?" Because they show the silhouette, and I said, "No, buddy, the little." Well, he wasn't really a little boy, but I said the little boy is Indiana Jones.
River Phoenix, Kellen. River Phoenix.
And
did he cover his eyes when Donovan disintegrated?
Oh no, that's his favorite part of the movie.
I covered my eyes in the theater.
Yeah, I covered Leona's eyes, and she's 10 months old.
So Kellen gets in it right away when he's running on the circus train, and I can tell right away he's sucked in, and he didn't really talk throughout the whole movie. He just sat and watched it. And then when he figured out he had to do the trials to get the Holy Grail, and then he said his favorite part is when the dude turned into a skeleton. And it's just lots of fun, and it's really cool seeing that your little boy loves that movie as much as you do. And you forget the little lines. I love when Indiana Jones is making out with a Nazi and he says, "And I don't like fast women." It's just funny.
Yeah,
I just love that stuff. And so the first night Kellen won, and so we watched A Secret Life of Pets 2. And it's garbage. But Kellen likes it, whatever. The second night Laura won, and we watched Tron Legacy, which
man.
Whoa.
And
I know.
And that's when you won.
Exactly.
My
Well,
goodness.
I said, Laura, you want to watch Tron Legacy? She doesn't really like sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
So I said, you're getting like the most sci-fi movie ever.
Brooks picked that once for a movie night, and I was super excited, and then we never finished it.
It is a long movie. I think it's like
it
2.5
is, yeah.
hours.
Well, I think we started it late. I think it was like our second movie.
Not long enough for me.
Amen.
Give me a 4-hour version of Tron, please.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty fun movie. It is interesting that in 8 years, how far the de-aging process has gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, Jeff
that's
Bridges does
maybe
not
the
hold up.
only glaring thing in the film is Jeff Bridges de-aging.
It doesn't.
It's the
yeah.
eyes.
And it doesn't bother me so much in Tron, but it does bother me at the beginning. Like the opening scene
Yeah.
with the little boy, I'm like, oh, this looks bad. And then once you get to Q, then I'm like, or Clue, I mean, then I'm like, this is great. Like, whatever, because you're already in a giant CG world, so it doesn't bother me so
That,
much.
and I mean, Olivia Wilde's in it, so it's great stuff.
It's wax on, wax off.
No, it's cleaning my eyes because if I had glasses, they'd fog up.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And man, I can't even remember what I picked for my movie. The second go around, Kellen picked. Oh man, I can't even remember. The Addams Family, the cartoon Addams Family.
Oh.
And that one's okay. I bought it for him because he really wanted it and he really liked it. And so whatever, it's an okay movie. Laura picked Pirates of the Caribbean, which Kellen loved too because they turn into skeletons.
Right.
And I chose The Empire Strikes Back, and Kellen loved it because Darth Vader is the boss of the bad guys.
Has he seen the first one yet?
Yeah, and it looks amazing in 4K, by the way. Because I don't have $250 to spend on the box set, so I said, you know what, I'll just buy the one, the best one.
Yeah.
And so I got that, and it looks amazing. The colors, and even like Darth Vader, even though he's all black, the textures you see on his costume and stuff, and the movie is amazing as well.
How does the special edition enhancements hold up?
You don't really notice them. Because,
Cool.
and the one thing I do like about Empire Strikes Back too is the special edition is really just establishing shots of the fighters and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too much of the other. I mean, there's a little color correcting in it, but
because the most like obnoxious special edition stuff is the Han shot first stuff, and then everything at the end of Return.
Yeah,
with,
exactly.
with the new songs and the changed ghosts and that kind of stuff.
And
Yeah.
Jabba.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Jabba.
So I think Return of the Jedi is the most egregious one, and I think they knew enough to leave pretty much Empire Strikes Back alone.
Mhm.
I mean, they repurposed. They got rid of a lot of the black lines on Hoth when they're fighting during the battle, and they cleaned up some of the tauntauns when they're running. But you really don't notice it. It's such a well done movie that stuff is whatever.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That was really awesome. That's what I watched this week.
Cool.
Yep. So thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks to Zoom, and thanks. Oh, yay! Fireworks.
I win.
Dude, it's 10 hours?
Yeah, this is 10 hours of fireworks
At normal speed
Yep.
on
Wow.
slow TV.
Ryan, that's what Cary Grant and Grace Kelly were in front of in the making of To Catch a Thief.
That is
Just in
true.
front of this YouTube screen. There wasn't any actual fireworks, and
This is my version of porn. It's just,
So thanks for everybody for listening. Thank you guys for being on Zoom. We will continue to put new episodes out. I think maybe this week I might put a question on Twitter and Facebook. What movie do people want us to watch?
Yeah.
And then maybe we can
That'd be
talk
cool.
about it.
I mean, I
Go
don't
from
do as
there.
I'm told, but
Yeah, you will do what you're told.
You're a leader, not a follower, James.
Cool.
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah. Thanks everybody.
You guys stay safe and stay
Yeah, have a
clean and
nice week.
Don't talk to
Yeah.
strangers.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't go outside.
Don't breathe on each other.
Yeah, be careful what you eat. Don't listen to the
drugs,
president.
take
It
cool
just gets
planning.
scarier. Yeah.
But take this time to enjoy your family and enjoy some movies.
Yeah.
Wait for all this to blow over.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.